So if you've clicked on this video, you are wanting to do a mid-year check-in and review. So welcome. I hope you stay and find something in today's video that helps you. For those that are returning, the 72 of you, thank you for joining today. Different background. I'm at work. I teach English as a second language here in Spain. So I'm in my classroom. I'm a bit messy. It's hot. It's sunny. I'm sweaty. So just apologize for how I look. Now, let's get into the actual crux of today, which is a review, a check-in with yourself to see how you're doing. I created a list of questions 2 years ago, so I'm going to be referring to my notes, okay? So let's go bit by bit. It's divided into 3 sections. Section number 1 is a review of your January until now, and the purpose of doing this is as you get older, I don't know about you, but my days were blurring together and my years were blurring together. And I would look back on, especially after COVID, and be like, actually, what happened in 2021? What did I do with my time? How is the year over? And actually, I haven't achieved anything or nothing happened and whatever. So I got into bullet journaling, which is a whole different ball game. But my point being is that now I try to differentiate my years. So how to do this is a end of year or beginning of year sort of December, January check-in and goal setting. It's another day. And today, which is the mid-year check-in and review. And it's not to put pressure on yourself. It's really to just figure out what's working and what's not working. So it is very coaching-esque, life coaching-esque, but take what you need and what doesn't serve you, don't take it. Okay. So like I said, we're going to review the first half of the year. Question number 1 is, what have you achieved from the goals list? So I love making goals, big goals and small goals, realistic and unrealistic, just to put it out there. And I reviewed what I did. And if I have to think right now, I can't think of anything. Take a moment. What have I achieved? Well, there's been some changes. My husband left his job and there's some other things, and I had some exercise goals that I achieved, and there's been a few things, not as much as I wanted. There's a few things that have changed, which is fine. It's nice to be able to acknowledge things that are different from how you viewed them at the beginning of the year. Do you know what I mean? Which leads to the second question: is there anything that you achieved that wasn't on the list? Well, 100%. I'm trying to create books for students that are learning English via Amazon, via KDP. So that's been a journey. I've taken on a different aspect in my job. There's like things that just sort of popped out of nowhere, like daisies, which is obviously the beautiful thing about life. But being able to see things that did and didn't go well according to the goals list, and things that did or didn't go well that weren't on the goals list. Do you know what I mean? Okay. That leads us to question number 3, which is, how have your goals changed and what no longer feels relevant? So who you were 6 months ago, you could have big life changes, you could have little life changes, you could have realized that that's who you wanted to be in theory or on paper, but realistically, that's not actually who you are or what you want. So I love this question of checking to see what still sits with you, I don't think my goals have changed. I still want to buy a house. Still want to write books. That's a new one. That's a new goal. I guess you could say that has been added into the goals list. But what no longer feels relevant, maybe not pushing so hard for the house. I was a little bit gung-ho set on that, and now I'm sort of waiting to see what God has in store, So there's that, which leads also to question number 4, which is challenges that you've had to deal with. Guys, as an adult, challenges come left, right, and center, right? I was in a car accident earlier this year. I was fine, don't worry. There's insecurity, not negative, but just like insecurities and change with my husband's job. Changes can always be scary. Little things like that, circumstances or challenges that you don't always take into account, but they pop up, And is there anything that you are struggling with? Now, my birthday's in March and I turned 36 and I had a huge wobble. And if you actually go through some of my videos on this YouTube channel, you can see that wobble. It's very evident. And I thought about deleting those videos because I was not in a good mental space and I was trying so hard to push through it and, go, overcome it, especially because I was trying to document it on YouTube. But you got to just let life flow, and it's one of the big things that I've learned recently of, it's not a new thing. It's a thing that I've learned in the past and I've remembered slowly, that I just, in the river of abundance, I've just got to let go and float down that river, and I always struggle around my birthday because it's a question of, what have I achieved and what haven't I achieved? And a whole year has passed and what's different, what's better, what's whatever. And then you play the comparison game. And I love to say that in the comparison game, everybody loses. All right. And I was 100% playing the comparison game and I was really struggling with resentment and shame, which are two big emotions for me that are my issue, like my problem emotions, if I could say. I'm hoping that this time, well, not this time next year, my birthday next year, some more beautiful, deeper shifts will have happened and I don't have these negative feelings towards my birthday. But we'll see. We're all human here. We're all learning. This is everyone's first time living, unless you believe in reincarnation. Anyway, we have 2 more questions left in this part. It is, be honest, how much time have you wasted on social media? And I think it's a big one. Not everyone probably spends as much time as I do on social media. I found social media, especially TikTok, to be such a weird space to be in because I really love being on TikTok. Like I really enjoy finding the funny videos and connecting with other people. And there's so many real people on the internet, specifically on TikTok. And I'm also quite active in my account. I upload journal videos and coloring videos and whatever. But at the same time, 100%, every hour that I spend on TikTok scrolling is an hour away from doing something productive. So I've tried to be better, actually. Try this out for yourself if you have a similar issue. From Monday to Friday, I delete the account, as in I don't have the app on my phone. And that has really helped me be more productive. And then on a weekend, I will have it on my phone, maybe even just on the Sunday, because then I'll just spend the weekend scrolling, right? Which is defeating the whole point. But like I'll actually actively delete it, and then like kick the habit because obviously it's a dopamine hit, right? Did you know? I don't know if you've heard of this before, that the action of scrolling is like going to a casino and putting money into the slot machine, and every time you get the 3 things the same, the cherry, whatever, is the same thing as every time you like a video. You're scrolling for the next video that you enjoy to get that, to hit that like that you enjoyed. And it's a similar thing. So it's 100% addictive. Definite dopamine hits. So I always try to detox myself from that. So in terms of social media, I think I've been doing fine. Question is, how have you been doing? Final question. It's not really a question. It's more like a prompt. And that is, describe your January to June in 3 words, which for me was difficult. I think I personally would say that it was a deep shift, right? A deep shift, stepping into abundance, and I'm going to go with positive change. So yeah, it feels like I've fitted in a whole year in these past 6 months. It's actually crazy. Okay, so the whole point of doing this is to acknowledge the things that you've already achieved, big and small, things that were on your list and not on your list, just so that you can actually acknowledge and recognize where you've been, where you are, how things are going, right? The next part is sort of more just connecting with where you are mentally, where you are emotionally, okay? So the first prompt is, what have I accomplished so far this year that I am proud of? Okay. Well, at the moment, I'm totally hyper fixated on making my Kindle books, not my Kindle, that's not for ebooks, my KDP books, my books for English learning. I'm a little bit obsessed, very proud. I published my first book literally yesterday. I'm proud of writing a short story about my grandmother. It was one of my small goals. And I am proud of this mental shift that I've had. So, yeah, good things to be proud of, I think. Next question is, do I feel aligned with what I want from this year? So alignment is such a beautiful word. So I made goals and I decided, what do I want for myself at the beginning of the year? And now 6 months later, do I still feel aligned with that? And I would say yes. Still want to focus on my health and lose weight. It hasn't happened. You can see it hasn't happened. But mentally, I'm in a better space. So I still have hope. I still think it's going to happen. So still want to focus on my physical health. Definitely have been working on my mental health and emotional health. And I've been definitely working on my own personal projects. So 100% feeling in alignment and saving money for that house. Okay. What hasn't been working out? Why? And is it still important for me to try and achieve these goals? Now, I've had to have this conversation with myself recently. I read Atomic Habits on and off. I'm probably about 60% of the way through. I don't know. I'm struggling to finish that book. But one of the points in the book, I think I'm going to put this on a pencil. Do you mind? It's a kid's pencil. You can totally see kids sharpening pencils on both sides. Yeah. Okay. What was I saying? What is the question? What's been working out? Why is this still important? Atomic Habits. Okay, cool. So with Atomic Habits, there's this one topic, if I remember it correctly, and don't quote me on this, but I remember that there's a part of the book that says if you want something, but your actions do not reflect that you actually want it, maybe you need to let it go because it's not what you want or need right now, or it's not something that's serving you right now. And I don't know if I've gotten that exactly correct, but I've had this long and tough conversation with myself particularly this week, especially about the weight loss. I've put on 20 kilos in the past 6 years, so since COVID, and I've just not been able to shift it at all. And I used to be so active before I turned 30, and it's like turn 30 and like, damn, bad mental health, huge depression, just not been in a good space. And to be honest, this is the first time in 6 years, and I don't say that lightly, that I'm like genuinely in a good mental space. And so I've had to sit with myself, especially now that I'm doing self-coaching again, which I'll talk in a future video for a different time. But having that conversation of, do I really want to lose weight? Because if I wanted to lose the weight, I would be actively trying to do it. Or am I just shaming myself because it's something that I should want? And I keep promising myself and promising others. No one of import, no one in my personal life is forcing me or shaming me. It's more like a society is imposing it on me. And then I had to have a discussion with myself. That is a discussion with myself I've had in the past where I've said, it does not serve me to try and lose weight now. Right? And I let it go, and I sort of let it go. And I've maintained my weight basically for the past 2-3 years because of that, because I sort of forgave myself for not focusing on it. And then the conversation for me this week was, okay, it does serve me. I do want it. Now, how do I actively work on it? Then creating a whole new conversation and a whole new pattern and hopefully making sure that that works. So these sort of things, is it important to me? Does it still serve me? Is it something that I want to continue striving for? I think is very important in the middle of the year, or anytime, but specifically in the middle of the year where you should be spending the next 6 months pushing for your goals. Because what happens is that in January or end of December, January, people are like, I'm going to have all these goals. And then they sort of like plateau. And then sort of what happens is that towards the end of the year, they're like, you know, and I'm trying very hard not to do that. So I think this the summer period, obviously, if you're in the northern hemisphere, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's a different vibe because winter is more hibernation. But I'm trying very hard not to peak and dip. I'm trying to sort of like maintain a level of flow. So yeah, ask yourself the question: what's not working out, and is it important for you to still try and work on it? That brings us to the final two questions, which is what small moments have you enjoyed so far this year? Now, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but purely because in my bullet journal, I make a list of the little moments of each month. I don't know why my hand is shaking. We're going to pretend that it's not, okay? So like I have a list of things that happened in January, the good and the bad. And then, for example, an ice cream date with my husband or a really long phone call that I had with my mom. Little things like that I try to acknowledge throughout the month. So I have them somewhere at home in my journal. But if you don't do that, then I would definitely sit with yourself and try and remember little things. Maybe you went for a coffee with a friend. Maybe you had a walk that was really beautiful, a Sunday lunch with family that really was happy. Little things that in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we tend to forget these things. But if you had to capture those little moments, those are the little moments that were important, right? So try not to forget those. Because that's where the real enjoyment is. And then when someone asks you at the end of the year, like, oh, so how was your 2026? You're like, oh, it was... Nah, most people go like, oh, it was fine. Oh, it was the same as every other year. Actually, no, fuck that. I had beautiful moments. Was it all hunky-dory? Was it all sunshine and rainbows? No. But did I have valuable moments that added to the quality of my life? Fuck yeah, it did. And I want to acknowledge that they did. For my own witness of living. And this is a big thing for me, is that when we're younger, someone is always a witness to your life. Your grandparents, your teachers, your parents, adults, right? They're all witnessing your life. But as you become an adult, no one really witnesses your life. Maybe if you have very lucky and have a fantastic spouse, like me, have a fantastic husband. Maybe if you have a really strong family, like home, but I live thousands of kilometers away from my family. Maybe if you have a strong friend group, but my friends are like all over the world. So if you have these things, maybe it's not as important to you. But if you are like me and slightly isolated, finding those moments and acknowledging, you become your own witness to your life, which I think is valid and saves a lot of people from feeling so alone, Okay, final question for this topic is who or what are you grateful for right now? Think deeply. Gratitude is such an important and powerful aspect in our day-to-day life, and also to shift negative emotions. So obviously, majority of people, especially when I ask, they're like, oh, my friends, oh, my family, oh, my husband, oh, my house. That's fine. Obviously, these are things worth feeling grateful for, right? But like genuinely like sit and be like, I'm actually so grateful that in the heat of Spain right now, I have an air conditioner, right? There've been wildfires out in the region next to my region. So thankful and grateful that it hasn't happened to me. People died, 13 people died in this wildfire. So grateful that obviously I will always be grateful, but like not just like, oh yeah, I'm totally grateful for my husband. No, like genuinely, like thank you God for giving me such a partner that like manages me and keeps up with me and also puts me in my place. Do you know what I mean? So what are you grateful for, or who are you grateful for? So we've done 2, which leaves us with one final part left. So we've done a check-in between January to now, where you are at emotionally and mentally, and then your final constructive phase, which is being clear about what you want, trying to be, whether it's a simple goal or more elaborate, just figuring out what are you going to do for the next 6 months, okay? Because like I said, as we get older, it's more, the time just passes, right? It just flows. I can't believe we're already in July. So what are you actually going to do for the next 6 months? Question number 1 is, what are you looking forward to between now and December? Personally, I have one thing. I have a friend coming over, the first friend to visit me in Spain. So definitely looking forward to that. And then not specific things. There's no concerts that I'm looking forward to. It's not like I'm going on a holiday anytime soon. I'm just looking forward to being productive and making more of my books for Amazon and, just living, Number 2, what would you do in the next 6 months if you knew that you couldn't fail? This is a typical coaching question. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes it hits, You have to sit with yourself because obviously people are like, oh, well, I would do this, this, and this. Okay, yeah, but realistically, like if you knew you weren't going to fail, what would you do? I could say to you, oh, well, I would totally do a language exam for Spanish because then I knew I wouldn't fail. But I know also that I actually don't feel like studying Spanish right now, so no. I would personally start my own academy, like my own business, my own school. I would love to do that, which is still a goal, a primary goal for the future in the next 2-3 years maybe. But that has since changed, and I know that now because of this check-in that I've done with myself. I really just want to focus on my books. I'm going to focus on making quality books, focus on making educational books and kids' books. And then eventually for intentional being and for myself, coaching books, self-coaching books, books that people that are into mindfulness and are into consciousness and into stoicism could, buy and enjoy. So if you had to define me in 2 ways, it would be teaching English and consciousness, right? So I'd like to create books for both versions of myself. So that's what I would do. That's 100% what I would do. And then continue making these videos. Although this is not the most fantastic quality, but if you're still here, thank you for listening. Okay, let's get back to the questions. So the question is, what would you do in the next 6 months if you knew that you couldn't fail? Sit with that one. And then the next one is, are your current actions aligned with your values and intentions? So what you want for the year and what you want for the next 6 months, or that plan, if you couldn't fail, what would you do with it? What you're currently doing, is that matching that vibe or not? So I can sit here and be honest with you. 2 days ago, I had Burger King. And I haven't exercised in 2 days. Valid. I've been feeling ill, so for valid reasons. But at the end of the day, I haven't exercised and I've been eating junk food. So are my actions aligned? No. So I need to sit with myself and figure out what I'm going to do there. Okay. What do you need to shift to have the second half of the year go the way that you want? There are different words that people use. Shift is more of a gentle space, right? You can also use tweak, that you just need change something just a little bit to go the way that you want, or like a pivot where you actually need to be like, actually, I need to completely change what I'm doing and go in a different kind of direction. For me, the pivot has been from like academy or owning my own business to focusing on the books. For me, that is a huge pivot. Everything else is more like a shift. I need to shift into focusing on prioritizing my physical health, for example. So find what vocabulary works for you. Do you know what I mean? Okay. What do you want 2026 to look like overall? What a powerful, beautiful, and intense question. For me, personally, I've said personally so many times. Sorry, I'm still in teaching mode because this is how I teach my advanced students to answer questions. Personally, I would say that I want 2026 to be a shift for something better. Been stuck in this rut, stuck in the mud for 6 years. And obviously I've been doing work in the limited space that I could mentally, because I was not in a good space. But I've been doing the work slowly to try and better myself. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Nothing is a miracle cure. It's not like, coaching or consciousness and now you're better and tra-la-la. No, It's continuous work, and sometimes things shift and sometimes things don't. I've now felt a genuine like uprooting of like bigger and better and greener and brighter. That's what I want 2026 to look like overall. I did work hard to make a difference. I feel happier. It feels like spring in my soul, and that's what I want. So the question is, what do you want? Okay. All right. How are you defining success for 2026? The definition and defining success is a very important one, because what is success for one person is not the success of another. For some people, success would be going into the next salary bracket or tax bracket. For another person, it could be completing a marathon. For another person, it could be getting married. Whatever. I don't care what your definition of success is. What is it though? Like, do you have a definitive definition, right? So for me, defining success is mentally being stronger and resilient. It's like, okay, successful so far. Taking life by the horns and making my own destiny. Do you know that expression, God only helps those who help themselves? That's it. Like, putting in the effort to make the changes, not waiting for God or someone else to do it for me. And being more financially secure, because last year broke me financially for a number of reasons, not important, all outside of my control. But point being is that this year, feeling more financially stable. Tick. Thank God. And I hope that for you too. Whoever you are, rich or poor, I hope that you are having a financially stable year as well. Okay, so that leaves us with the final question, which is your top 3 priorities going forward, and all goals or intentions that you would like to focus on. Okay. Defining it right now, it would be, I need to lose weight, even if it's just 2 or 3 kilos, which is, let's say, 5, 6, 7 pounds. I just want to see a change to believe in myself, because I have a problem with integrity. When it comes to my job or things for others, I'll be like, yes, I'll do it. And then I'll actually do it because it's my job. But if it's something for myself, like, I'm going to go to the gym, and then I'm like, but I don't feel like it. Like I struggle with personal integrity. So it's for my integrity. It's just lose, 2-3 kilos. Work on my Camino English, which is my sort of little mini business that I'm trying to start with my books. Focus on my Camino English books, and I'd like to complete a spiritual course that I'm doing on these kinds of things, like stoicism and consciousness and stuff like that. So those are the 3 things. If I finish those 3 things, I would say that I've had a successful second half of the year. And that's that. That is the check-in. I'm going to give you all the questions all again. And unfortunately, I don't have anywhere to, well, if you want a copy, if you are like earlier, I actually want to journal this or think about it. I don't have a website or anything, but you can contact me on Instagram. It's Aurelia_intentional_being. It's the same picture. You'll recognize me from my picture. Just send me a DM. My page is open. And I can send it to you if you want it. Okay. But if not, if you just want to hear them out, cool. You ready? So first part is the reviewing your goals from January to now to acknowledge what you've already achieved, big and small. That is, number 1, have you achieved goals from your goal list? What are they? Number 2, what have you achieved from your list that was not on the list? Number 3, how have your goals changed and what no longer feels relevant? Number 4, is there anything that you've had to deal with? Is there anything that you are struggling with? And finally, describe your first half of the year in 3 words or 3 sentences. Second part is to take some time to answer the prompts of connecting where you are, not where you want to be, just where you are emotionally and mentally. Number 1, What have I accomplished so far this year that I'm proud of? Number 2, do I feel aligned with what I want from this year? Number 3, what hasn't been working out? Why? Is it still important for me to try and achieve these goals? Number 4, what small moments have you enjoyed so far this year? And the final, who or what are you grateful for right now? Think deeply. Okay. Final one is to be more constructive, to be clear about what you want, whether it's simple or elaborate. Number 1, what are you looking forward to in the next 6 months? Number 2, what would you do in the next 6 months if you knew that you couldn't fail? Number 3, are your current actions aligned with your values and intentions? Number 4, what do you need to shift, tweak, or pivot? I'm going to add the word pivot here. Pivot to have the second half of the year go the way that you want. Number 5, what do you want 2026 to look like overall? Number 7, how are you defining success for 2026, and does that adjust your expectations for the next 6 months? And then finally, top 3 priorities going forward. What goals or intentions do you want to focus on? Right. And that should leave you with a very clear, constructive check-in with where you're at. It's very long. I hope you're still here. If you are still here, I would love for you to share one of the answers with me. And hopefully I'll see you soon. I've got some things that I'd love to share with you, and I just need to get around to actually doing it. But the summer is crazy busy. Hopefully next week it will be better. Anyway, everyone, you can't see, but that's a heart. I'll chat to you soon.